guys, this is Sharbria Shine, and welcome back to Max Out Girl. I am so excited that today we have a special guest, Dymeata B. Hey, Dymeata.
Hey, Shabria, thank you so much for having
I'm
me.
so excited, guys. You're in for a treat today. She is a serial entrepreneur. She's a woman of faith, a wife, and a mother of three beautiful girls. And you guys, get this. She is a Gary, Indiana native, which I am too. So I'm so proud to have a Gary, Indiana native in the house. Woo, woo.
Hey.
So excited to have her on, guys. Man, I've been knowing you, Dymeata, for like pretty much all my life, right? Since I was a
Right.
little girl.
Yes.
Yes. And she has
Yes.
always been such an inspiration, guys. I just can't wait till we dive into her story and how she got started. But she is just such a motivational speaker, just such an amazing individual. And she's just so dynamic. So, just to get started with some of the things that she's done, she served in ministry for 24 years. She's the founder and owner of Be Bold Publications, Be Bold in the City, Be Bold Cosmetics, Be Bold Hair Studio, and Just Be Bold Boutique. Guys, she is maxing it out. Come on now. And Be Bold is just not an acronym that doesn't mean anything. She's passionate about what she's doing. It is breaking barriers over lives daily. And I love that because that's part of maxing it out. We put ourselves in a box and we want to, we want to be able to overcome some barriers that's trying to stop us from going after our dreams. So,
Yeah.
Dymeata, when did it start for you? Oh, before you tell me when it started for you, guys, I cannot miss this. She's an author of 4 books. 4 books. Not one, not two, guys, 4 books. I mean, it doesn't get much better than this, right? She's amazing. So, Dymeata, you're doing a lot of amazing things. So, when did you know you were an entrepreneur? Where did it all begin for you?
Okay. So, funny story. I share this story every time I speak
Uh-huh.
or if I go live with clients. But what I discovered, when I discovered I was an entrepreneur, it was actually when I was in college.
Wow.
I was in college. When I went to Indiana University, and I enjoyed it, but I just felt like I didn't know. I was just confused. I was lost. And at the time, I didn't have people in my life that could guide me and help me navigate through college. So I wasn't truly focused. So what I did was I dropped out of college, and my parents didn't know. And so what I did was I would go to Barnes and Noble the times that I was supposed to be in school.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go to Barnes and Noble and I would read up on different, entrepreneurs and different people that truly inspired me. And I was staying there literally from like 10 o'clock in the morning to like 4 o'clock in the evening.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I would buy me a cup of coffee or what you call it, a mocha,
Mm-hmm.
like the whatever. I would buy one of those and I would just sit and read for hours. And so, because all of my friends were in school, so I'm like, I can't stop learning. I need to still be learning and reading. So that's what I did. And I began reading they had books like Entrepreneur Bibles and Franchise Bibles. And I just began to learn the industry and learn, the vernacular and different things that, how people talk. And I had this big dream to open up a Subway. Well,
Mm-hmm.
of course, that never happened.
Okay.
But it just so happened I was working at my dad's church, and they were planning on opening up a cafe. And so my dad and the administrator, they assigned me to manage the cafe. And it was such an honor, but it was also such a learning experience. And it was probably one of the best learning experiences I could have ever experienced. And that's when I discovered that I was an entrepreneur. So I really just, from that point on, I knew anything that I would do, it would be on a platform where God would be glorified, where I wanted to always be a vehicle to show somebody and to drive them to God at the end of the day.
So, how did Be Bold start for you? Did it start after the cafe experience? Where was that birthed from?
It was actually birthed from my husband. He was in transition and he was looking for a full-time job, and we were living in a 2-bedroom apartment. And I've always had this desire to have my own lipstick line. Didn't have the resources, didn't have the money, didn't know how God was going to do this, but I knew it was a dream. And I was one on dreams
Mm-hmm.
coming true. I was an advocate on telling people, listen, if you can dream it, you
Yeah.
can have it. And so I remember, telling my husband, like, I want to do this, but I don't have the money, and maybe I should just wait, and maybe it's just not for me. And he was like, well, either you're going to do it or either you're not. And I remember God speaking to me and saying, just be bold. I mean, just do it. Either you're gonna be successful or you're gonna fail, but you'll never know until you try it. And that's what I did. I printed off business cards. I even paid to go to an expo. I had no resources. I had no products at all, but I went to get my
Mm-hmm.
name out there. And so I started a email list and got people on my email list because I wanted them to know, I wanted to announce to them when I was going to launch it. And this was all by faith.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it was all by faith. And that was in 2011. And I launched it in 2013. And God used someone who wanted to invest into my business. They had no idea that I was believing for this, but they inboxed me. It was a friend on Facebook and said, hey, I don't even want you to let people know who I am. I just want to sow into your life. And they sowed into my life, and we were able to launch Be Bold Cosmetics. And had I, kind of regressed back then, had I said, no, I'm not doing it, maybe it's for somebody else, I would have never seen what God was going to do through Be Bold Cosmetics. And
Wow.
so I would have aborted
Mm-hmm.
the baby with lack of
Wow.
faith. And so that was 2013 when we launched it. 2015 is when my parents divorced, and God spoke to me about the acronym of Be Bold, because I'm like, okay, I have to have a message in
Yeah.
everything that I do. And he gave me that message: breaking barriers over lives daily. And although I was going through a devastating season in my life with my family, God showed me that I was going to use that so that you can minister to other people, and you're going to help break generational curses, and you're going to help break the barriers off of lives daily, because people, they are afraid because of their experiences, their background, their surroundings, their environment, how they were brought up, and you're going to break that. And so I'm going to use you. And that's what he's doing to this day. And I just give him glory, because this is every assignment that God has given us. He wants to get the glory, and I just want him to be glorified in every business and everything that I
Wow,
do.
that's amazing. So you're pretty much saying that you had no resources, you had nothing, but
Mm-mm.
you just trusted the Lord. You just had a dream within your heart, and you just believed and went for it.
Yes. Yes. And Shabria, you know what? I'm learning as I get older that, we don't need all of the information when we
Yeah.
start. God shares more information on the way. He downloads in us a vision or an idea or creativity or strategy, but he does not give us any more information until we go further out of the boat. And that's what I'm learning, and I mean, people just have to get it.
Yeah.
It has to click.
Mm-hmm.
God's not going to give you all the resources when you're in the
Yeah.
same spot. He gives you more on your way.
That's amazing. So you're pretty much just saying you just get out there and do step one. If that's all you know, do step one. God will bless you as you're going towards your goal. That's
Yes.
amazing. And
Yes.
so that's so encouraging. Ladies, do you hear that? So a lot of times we can have something within our hearts to do, but we feel like, I don't have the
Yes.
money. I don't know the right people. I don't have the right education. But look at you. You're just like,
Yes.
I have a dream. I believe that the Lord's going to do it as I go. And you said, was it 2 years where you just got your name out there, but had no product yet?
Yes.
That is
At all. Yes.
amazing. And then 2 years down the road, someone inboxed you on Facebook and said, hey, I want to invest in you. Come on now, ladies. Now tell me
Yes.
that's not
Yes.
amazing. That's God. So we have to just
Yes.
go for it. Like, you're never going to max out in life if you are worried about what you don't have and who you don't know.
Absolutely.
But when you're a child of God, you know everybody because he knows everyone. So I
Absolutely.
love that. So
Absolutely.
basically, from there, you had a product from there, correct? After they gave you the money, then
Yes.
did you already know that you wanted to do cosmetics? How did that come about?
Yeah, I never had a desire to do makeup. Never had a desire to be a makeup artist. And that was another thing too that kind of got me to slow down on the process, because I'm like, oh, I'm not a makeup artist. What are the makeup
Yeah.
artists gonna think? And I had to just kick that out of my mind and just like, listen, Dymeata, you don't have to be somebody, you don't even have to have the experience. If God has given you the desire, he's gonna enable you to do whatever he's told or called you to do. And so what I did was I knew in high school, I never really knew how to put on makeup. I never wore lipstick, but I always wanted to. Like friends around me, they wore lipstick. And I'm like, oh, I just don't know how I
Yeah.
would look. And when I started experimenting, I didn't start really wearing lipstick until after I got married. And I just started experimenting. And I just felt like every time I would put on my lipstick, I felt
Mm-hmm.
different. It accented who I was. And I mean, it was just, it lit up the room. And so I said, you know what? I mean, I wonder how many other people feel the same way. Like it just take maybe just putting on some lipstick. Sometimes you just feel
Yeah.
a little better, or just
Mm-hmm.
doing your hair. Or, you just feel like you
Yeah.
feel different. And I'm like, wow, I want other women to feel the same way. And I get countless emails and countless text messages from people's like, I got your lipstick, girl. Oh my God. I just feel everybody keep asking me about my lipstick. I love it. It just made me feel so
Yeah.
good, And so I prayed when I launched it that people will feel changed. They will feel better about themselves whenever they purchase Be Bold
Wow,
Cosmetics.
that's amazing. So it's even purpose in your product, and I love that. That's
Yes.
amazing.
Yes.
So going from there, what, caused you to say, you know what, this is not just cosmetics. Like this is a brand. This is a lifestyle. I'm going to expand to publications, to Be Bold in the City, to Be Bold Hair Studio, to the boutique. What made you go for that?
You know what, Shabria? I can't even say
Yeah.
what it is. I think, I try to tune my ear to the
Mm-hmm.
voice of God because I want to know what's next. What's next for my business, for my brand. And I know that I've always had a desire to build our empire, to build our business. And so, my husband, he works in the financial arena. And so we just named his business Be Bold
Okay.
Financial. My kids, they design denim designs and different things, and we just Be Bold Creations. I just felt like anything that I was wearing, people were always asking
Yeah.
about it. And I'm like, okay, well, why not advertise my own brand? You know, and it's nothing wrong with it, but people waste so much time advertising other
Yeah.
people's stuff and they're not getting
Mm-hmm.
paid for it. And I'm like, I already have a brand. Why don't I advertise and sell my own product? So I expanded. The first thing was that I did after my cosmetics was the Be Bold
Okay.
publications. I literally published each and every one of my books, and people were coming to me and they wanted assistance, in publishing their own book. And so a few of them offered to just pay me. And so that's how I launched Be Bold Publications, and I never advertised it. People referred me. And I have published almost 10 books, 15
Wow.
books. And I only did that like maybe 2 years. I only published books for 2 years, and I would pay people. I pay editors and graphic designers. They would do most of the work for me, and I would just, of course,
Yeah.
manage what they were doing. And so that's how, I mean, people would just come to me. And so I always knew that if there's a need, find a
Yeah.
seed. If there's a need for it, then you be that resource to somebody else. And I think what drives me every day is knowing that I didn't have the resources, and I always wanted to become a resource for somebody
Wow.
else. And so that's how all of the extensions have kind of birthed through my brand.
That's amazing. So would you say you're kind of self-taught? So you went after it and you said, I'm just going to educate myself in these different arenas, like the boutique, finding out how to sell product, where to find them, those types of things, or the cosmetics. Were you just like a student to it all, or they got send you people to help you?
Yeah, originally I did learn a lot of things on my own and by trial and error and by money. And so I mean, my husband will tell you, like, I would come up with these ideas. I'm like, oh my God, Brandon, I think I should take this course, or I think I should, and he's like, okay, baby, go ahead, but it all worked out and it benefited the business. But I had to become a
Yeah.
student, and I would I would research different courses that was in the same area of what I was doing. I would invest in courses, invest in mentors from afar, people who could mentor me, and whom I've never met, but they had what I needed. And so that's very, very important. You cannot do and run business alone. You have to always be evolving through self-development and growing. And so that's one thing I've always been a stickler of, always educating yourself if you want your business to grow or your brand to grow. So yeah, that's what I've always done. That I don't I can't say I taught myself everything. I will say I've researched
That's awesome.
everything so that I could be
That's
taught.
awesome.
Yeah.
And I know that some women, you know, maybe that's not their strength, research, or maybe they just don't feel adequate enough to find the information. I've always looked at you as a very resourceful person. So what would you tell that woman who feels she isn't resourceful, she tries to study, but it's hard to gather the information and put it all together?
Yeah.
What would you tell that woman?
Well, I would say I tell everybody Google is your
Yes,
friend.
yes.
And I mean, if you don't know, I mean, if you want to know the weather, if you want to know something about a celebrity, if you Google it, Google has it. And it became my best friend. And but I will say I've always learned that successful people leave clues. And so whenever I'm listening to somebody teach, preach, do a course or teach a course, I'm always listening to what they're not saying, because just like in school, you know, your teacher, they prepare you for the test, and most of the time whatever they're teaching there, it's going to be on that test. It's going to be something that you're going to have to apply. And so what I would do is pick up on the things that they would say and what they wouldn't say, because I knew I may have to apply that. And so I would say to that person who really have a hard time researching and they don't have that, you know, they're just not aggressive in finding and researching for information, ask questions. Never be afraid to ask questions. If there's somebody out there that's doing what you desire to do, ask questions. Either they're going to ignore you, they're going to share with you and teach you, or they're just going to say, no, I'm not giving you the information. But if you don't ask, you'll never know.
That's so awesome. And I think that is very important, just to have the boldness to reach out to individuals who may know more than you are in a certain area of business, you know, because sometimes we are afraid, like, oh, I'm just little me. They probably won't even answer, but you will never know until you just take that first step of faith. And I think that's awesome what you've done. And also, I think a great thing is kind of like what you said with Google, you can always find things, but also there's so many courses. And I love that you said you invested in courses. And there is something for everything now, like how to start a business. And we're going to talk about some of your courses in a second as well, because I know you have a lot of resources. So it's kind of no excuse for us, right? We all should be able to go after our dreams. And I think the hardest thing is just starting. I think sometimes it's very intimidating. I know for me, even like starting a podcast, that was intimidating, you know, or starting the different things that I've started in business. You know, the hardest thing for me has always been just to start. And then once I start, I'm like, I love this, you know, I'm like, it's not that bad. Like, but of course, like you said, we have to continue to evolve and to learn and to research. Can I be honest with you? My favorite thing is not to research.
Really?
Yes. Isn't that weird? Like, I love to read and I do love to write. However, I don't like collecting the data. So I would be the type of person that would pay someone else to collect the data for me, to do the research, and I would read or study. Like, I don't mind reading, I don't mind studying, and I definitely love to learn. But I wouldn't want to be the person that has to go out and just put it all together, which God has really stretched me, because in some areas he's forced me anyway to have to do that, because as you know, starting a business or anything, you kind of do have to start there by researching. It is, so but you know what? I love what you're saying, because I feel like so many women can feel like that, like, oh my God, I don't have anything, or I don't have the resources, and I don't know even where to look. But you're saying you didn't even go the traditional way, because I feel like sometimes we can be burdened by that. If we decided not to go to college, or if we decided not to take that traditional route, we may feel like, oh my God, we don't have the knowledge, or we might be shunned because maybe people in our family or society may feel like that's not the way to go. But I love your story, because you, in spite of maybe what you have thought that other people may have thought, you know, just listen to your heart. And I believe you listened to God, the purpose he had for you against all odds, and you just went for it. And I love that. You didn't say, no, I got to stay in school because this is the route that my parents think I need to take, or that society says I need to take. You listened to that beat of your own heart, and you said, you know what? I'm going to Barnes and Nobles. And I'm going to read these magazines and these books that fuel me with the energy and the passion that I have. And I think that a lot of things, successful business owners and entrepreneurs, they have that gut check that, you know, and with us, you know, who are believers, the Holy Spirit who tells us, like, go here, do this, do that. It may not make sense, but it's so important to listen to that voice within. And I love your story, and I love how you've done that. And so could you speak to overcoming the discouragement, because I know just from recently starting a business, it can be very discouraging when you first start, or when you don't feel like you have the growth that you really desire, or even when you add social
Mm-hmm.
media to it, because you have a platform that goes along with it. Maybe a person may feel like they're not growing enough followers fast enough. Or how do you speak to some of the
Mm-hmm.
discouragement an entrepreneur may deal with?
I would I would advise them to trust the
Okay.
process. Trust the process. And even when they invest in a brick and mortar, there is a process. So you don't just say, "Hey, I'm starting a business, a franchise." McDonald's, when somebody opens a McDonald's, first you see the construction signs, you see them breaking ground, you see them laying the foundation, and you have to learn how to trust the process, because in your head you know what the outcome is going to be. And I think it's very important to find a vision for your business, because it's very important, because that helps you navigate to where you're trying to go and how you want to end up. Um, I've always been a stickler on vision,
Mm-hmm.
vision, vision. And it's just like you putting in your GPS where you want to go. And you're expecting that GPS to direct you and navigate you to where that address that you're trying to get to. And so that's what vision is. If you have a vision for your life or vision for your family, where do you see your family? Where do you see yourself in 3 years? I mean, how do you want to live? What type of quality of life do you want to live? And if you see that, if you can see that, then you have to learn to trust the process of building a business, because at the end, in the next 3 to 4 years, this is the life I
Yeah.
want to live. So you have to be patient and trust the process. The
That's,
second
yeah.
thing I would say, yeah, I would advise is, trust God in everything. You are not the source, and you are not the resource. God is your source for everything. I can't really, oh my God, if I could, maybe another time, but I really would love to share stories on how God provided for our
Mm-hmm.
business. He'll send people your way. If you have a desire, he sent somebody for my first business. He sent somebody to invest in something that he gave me a dream for. And so you have to trust the process. It does not, sometimes I have my slow days when I don't make any money. And there's sometimes I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
I'm loving this. But you have to trust the process and include God in every area of your business. Every.
That's awesome advice. That's so great, because I believe that, women who are listening to this podcast, and women all over the world, have so many amazing ideas and businesses in their hearts, but they don't trust the process, or they give up too soon. So in business, patience is something that you have to have. And I can say that's something that I really strive to have every day, because it wasn't at one point one of my
Mm,
strong areas. So pretty much, I really agree with you that you're going to have patience, trust the process, and endurance, and
yes.
don't give up, because
Yes.
if you just stay consistent, it's going to happen.
Yes.
So I love that. So thank you so much for coming on, sharing some of the things that you talked about. So many nuggets of truth that we can take to, actually use in any area of our lives. How you talked about, endurance, patience, really just trusting God, and just going for your dreams. So what kind of resources do you have right now where that entrepreneur can actually, find or learn from you? I know you have a lot of things going on.
Well, I'm in the process of right now. I was having, or at the end of the year, I was having
Mm-hmm.
writer's block, because I know God is releasing me to publish
Okay.
another book, but I'm still on the fence. But right now I'm in a
Okay.
teaching mode, and this is the season where I want to teach people and educate them and mentor them. So that's what I've been doing. Last year, I took a step of faith and decided that, now that I have products, I want to provide the services for people who want and desire to be in control of their destiny, in control of their business. And so last year, the beginning of last year, I did a mentorship,
Okay.
a webinar, and I gave them strategies on how they can increase their revenue and make money on the side, if they're working a full-time or part-time job, how to add more or increase their revenue. So right now I have courses on my website, and the courses consist of, from starting like the legwork, like your vision, I call it a GPS plan. So it's a GPS, it's like very thorough, and it helps you. It's kind of challenging on how to get out of your head what you
Okay.
desire. And a lot of people, they got it in their head, but they don't know how to write it down on paper or express it. And so this GPS roadmap is basically helping you with your business plan. And it's not the traditional business plan. This is a business plan for someone who want to have an online
Okay.
presence.
Awesome.
So yeah, and so I have many other courses on how to start your podcast, how to publish your book, all of these good things. And these are things right now that people are doing and they're able to do on their own. So I provide these courses, very simplistic on how to get started. And people need the information, so I wanted to be that
Amazing. So
resource.
where can they find your books, your courses, your other resources?
They can find everything on www.justbebold.com. That's
And where can
www.justbebold.com.
they find you on social media so they can keep up with all the amazing things that you're doing?
They can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. I keep up with my kids. Snapchat, at Dymeata B. So it's just at Dymeata B on all of those platforms.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on, Dymeata. You've dropped so many nuggets, and I know the women are going to be blessed by all that you've shared today.
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure.
So guys, as you know, this is Sharbria Shine. You can follow me at Sharbria Shine on all social media and sharbria.com. We hope that we encouraged, inspired, and elevated your thinking. And always remember to max out, girl. This is Sharbria Shine again, your host, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye, guys.